Hello and welcome to our workshop on how social media can help you market your childcare resource and referral agency. I'm so glad you could make it to spend some time with us today on learning how to market your agency. Next slide, please. Childcare is critical always, but especially right now. With the COVID-19, social distancing for our children in childcare, as well as the wildfires and natural disasters, right now, childcare is a necessity. It's hard for families to find childcare that best fits their needs. And so who do they look to when they're doing this? They don't know where to go. They don't know where to start. It's up to us as childcare resource and referral agencies to be that resource for our families. Providers have always had a hard time juggling vacancies and availability, but it's getting harder even today. Next slide, please. This is our time. As R&Rs, we are uniquely positioned to help. We can step in and guide families along their decision-making process to give them that consumer education and all those tip sheets and brochures that we've always loved to give out. We can help providers connect with these families. The challenge for us is, how do we get families to hear about us? How do we market our childcare R&Rs? We don't have a commercial, so what do we do? We're strapped for resources ourselves. We have limited budgets to work with, and we don't necessarily have staff or the capacity to lead communication campaigns. So what do? Childcare is essential to our economy. Right now, we need to come together and support one another because we're all in this together. Next slide, please. Social media can help us to do all these things and can be a support to all of us during this time. For agencies, families, childcare providers, and allies. It can also be really valuable when families move from county to county. But today we're going to talk about how social media has helped my organization, Cocoa Kids, and how it can help you, and today we're going to leave you with some tips and resources to get you started. Next slide, please. Well, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself already if you haven't already known. You guys, some of you already know me. My name is Candida Duperoy, also known as Candy Duperoy, and I am the Resource and Referral Manager here at Cocoa Kids. I have been here for over 20 years. I enjoy our work. I love talking about what I do to people, what I do for people all the time, helping families find childcare, helping providers stay in business and be in business and be their best. And right now, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Emily.
Hi everyone, I am Emily Young, and I am also working at Cocoa Kids, and I've been there for just over 2 years. I started as a resource and referral counselor on the front lines, and recently just earned the title of Special Projects Coordinator. So on top of resource and referral things, I also do special projects, and really excited to tell you guys about how social media has really helped our organization and what we've done in the past few years to really increase our online presence. And Kalisa is next.
Hi everyone, my name is Kalisa Hildebrand. I work with Fenton, which is a social change communications agency. And I have had the honor and privilege to work with the network on some of their upcoming communications, a little of which we're going to talk about today, specifically in reference to mychildcareplan.org. And through that, have had the opportunity to meet other R&Rs and this wonderful team that I'm speaking to and with today, and to learn about how all of you are communicating and what tools and tips can best support you in your communications and social media needs. So thank you.
All right, well, I can tell you what social media has helped us do at our agency recently. It has helped us increase our workshop attendance by 50%. It has helped us distribute cleaning and PPE funds, and you all know about that because that was a challenge. We probably processed about over 1,000 applications. And it has also helped with the emergency child care vouchers for our essential workers in our county. So by doing all these three things, we have used Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our website, along with allies who also posted for us. And we work together collectively in our county. And it has helped us so much. And guess what? It's all free. I love to say that. So next slide, please. Follow us on Twitter. That's what I tell my staff. And that's what I tell staff to tell families and providers. I say it at least once a day. Follow us on Twitter, because you can find out on updates, you can find out what's going on, and you can find out on what's going on in the community. So I think that's a great way to get families and providers involved in what we're doing, is follow us on Twitter. Thank you. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to hand it over to Emily.
Thank you, Candy. All right, so when Kalisa came to us and asked us if we could assist her with our information on social media and how we do things at Cocoa Kids, it really took some thought, but we broke it down into 3 simple tips. Our first tip is to get organized. Our second tip is to keep it simple. And our third tip is to get support. We always recommend that providers and parents follow us on social media. We tell them all the time, you know, if you want to know more about when we receive subsidy, get on our social media. If you want to know if we have more PPE, get on social media. We will announce those through that. We also announce it through calls and through emails, but social media is one way that we can announce it to a lot of people in a very quick and efficient way. But in order to keep them following us, we also have to make sure that our content is relevant and that it's on there regularly, so that way we can keep and gain momentum. So these 3 tips, they're really going to help effectively and efficiently use social media, so that way you're not instead of you working at social media, it helps social media work for you. Next slide, please. So my first tip is to get organized. And in order to get organized, what we did was we set a goal. We set a goal that was SMART. So if you don't know about SMART goals, they are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So our first goal was to do 2 posts on social media each week until we got more comfortable with how we were using the tool. And then we bumped it up to 4 to 5 times each week. But if you are an agency that doesn't use social media yet, you can start wherever you feel most comfortable. So for you, that might be once a week, and that's okay. Start at once a week until you get to know the tools a little bit better. Research content ahead of time is a really important thing. So you can do this in multiple ways. One way that you can do this is to meet with other programs and learn about what they're doing, to research what they have to offer. Not only does that help you build your content, but it also helps you answer questions when providers and parents, talk to you, ask questions through social media too, because you already know what the programs are doing, you know who to reach out to if you don't know an answer, and it really helps you, helps guide your content as well. Another example of researching your content ahead of time, aside from talking to other programs, you can actually research certain things. Like, for example, back in August, when we learned that in Contra Costa County, schools weren't going to come back into full in-person school, we knew that these providers are really going to need some support when it comes to distance learning. We all kind of just got thrown into it at the end of last year, but in order to start the school year off right and to really help these kids thrive, we knew that these providers were going to need some tips. So yes, we planned a workshop, but not all providers can join our workshop. They don't have that time allotted. So we also did postings, so that way if they couldn't attend the workshop, then they had these tangible and helpful tips right then and there before the start of the school year, so that way they had at least a starting point to supporting distance learning kids. The last tip in getting organized that I would like to advise you to do is to create a calendar. At Coco Kids, we create our calendar sometimes 2 months in advance. So for example, right now, you're watching this in October. We've already got November planned, but we're actually going to start working on December and January right now. So getting that calendar set ahead of time and really planning out what your presence is going to be, what your posts will be, is really helpful. So that way you're not scrambling around last minute when you feel like, oh my gosh, it's been a while since I posted. You already know what you're gonna do. You've already got that research down. You got this, you can post, and it'll be easy and seamless for you. Next slide, please. All right, so my next tip is to keep it simple. We are all working so hard at 110%, 150% sometimes, and the last thing that I want to do is get you guys to feel like you have to do all this extra work. Like I said before, we want social media to work for you, not you working for social media. So a couple of things that you can do just to make your job easier is have theme days. So for example, I have a couple of different ideas for you. So if you want to write this down, you're more than welcome to get out your pen and paper. Some of our theme days that we do at Coco Kids is Training Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, we post a workshop or a training, whether it's our own or whether it's somebody else is, one of our partner agencies is offering it. We post about a training for providers and or parents. We also do Advocacy Wednesdays. So right now we've partnered with the census. So every single Wednesday we are posting about the census to get the word out. I know that the census was supposed to be back in the spring, but it's still happening now. People can still post, people can still do the census and reply to it. So we're really trying to get that push out there. And also Thursdays, we have our Helpful Tip Thursday. So like I said about the distance learning, that was posted on a Thursday. And every Thursday we either have tips for parents or providers, sometimes license exempt providers. We have tips for them as well because they're just as essential as licensed providers. Fridays, we save that time for partnering with an agency that is a like-minded agency. And whether that is, the Employment and Human Services Department or First Five of Contra Costa or another agency that we have a good rapport with, we save our Fridays to really kind of bounce off of that if there's something going on that we feel like we have to share it. It's such good information. Another thing that I can add is to keep words concise. For this, also write this down. I always recommend using the rule of 7 and 7. So when you are posting, and this is good for workshops as well, keep your words concise, keep them simple, and only go 7 words across and 7 words down. Also, bullet points help with that as well. So if bullet points make it easier for you to keep things short, keep it simple, keep the information relevant, then use bullet points. That's a very helpful way too. Personally, if there's a big post that I see on Instagram or Facebook, I scroll right past it. Nobody has time for that. We don't have time to read these big long paragraphs with all the other things that we're doing when we're scrolling through social media. And I can only assume that other providers and parents and license exempt providers are feeling the same way. So keep it short, keep it concise, rule of 7 and 7. Last but not least, and keep it simple, set up your posts ahead of time. So what we do is on Facebook, there's this really great free tool that will allow you to set up your posts ahead of time. So that way you don't even have to think about it when that day comes to post. It's already doing it automatically for you. Kalisa shared with me, we didn't know this, but Kalisa shared with me yesterday that Twitter and Instagram also have that tool too, though you do have to pay for it, or they have partnerships with other things that will allow you to post ahead of time, but they are paid, so just keep that in mind as well. Next slide, please. All right, so my last tip that I'll talk to you about is to get support. And it is so important. Don't do this on your own. Don't feel like you have to put in all this work. When you have people in your agency and within your community that also have great information to share, offer your assistance outsource to other programs in your agency. It's really important. Gain that relationship, work with them, have them share with you when they have things that they're excited about, that they're working on, so that way you can use that and use them as a sounding board too. Next is to encourage participation. Some of your staff might feel really comfortable liking, reposting, sharing, or commenting on your social media postings. Some staff don't. And that's okay. It's okay to have both staff. But the ones that do feel comfortable and the ones that do use social media often, encourage that participation. They might, they live in your community too, and they might have partnerships with people that will expand your following and expand your base and get that word out there. And then they can share with other people when somebody's talking about how they're having a really hard time with finding childcare, or they could really use some information and tips in the form of a workshop or something of the sort. So really encourage that participation to get that word out. It takes a village to raise a child, and it is really important for you to really get that participation with your current village to expand that to better our society and really to support the kids. Next is to schedule highlights with staff. So this is one that we thought was going to work out really well this year. We had our early learning conference, which we always hold in the spring, and spring of 2020, April 25th, 2020 conference was going to be fantastic. We were so excited about putting this event on. We scheduled highlights around that event, and every single Tuesday leading up to the event, we had postings shared. We started postings in January or February about this event, and I am telling you, before COVID, we had the highest enrollment in that first week that we just were floored. We were like, this is our year. We're going to have so much participation and reach so many providers in the area, and it's gonna be great. Unfortunately, we all know what happened in March, and so it didn't quite work out that way, but we were still like holding out hope that maybe it was going to be our most fruitful conference ever. Last but not least, partner with other agencies in the area. This post right here is shared from Contra Costa EHSD. So they took some of our information about emergency childcare and how to find it for essential workers and referred people to come find childcare with us. And this was such a great tool and such a great partnership that really allowed us to, I can't tell you how many essential workers contacted us right after this posting. Really helped us boost our numbers. We got to have great conversations with essential workers in the area. And, we were able to really help a lot of essential workers and non-essential workers find childcare. And so it was really important that we built that partnership and worked with each other for that. Last tip along with this is you want to make sure that you save space to post for other agencies as well. If you're asking them to post for you, you also need to, when they have important things, have that time allotted or have that open time within your schedule to save time to post for them as well. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so ultimately, our goal at Cocoa Kids is to champion and advance quality childcare and education. Social media is just one tool that we use to help us with that. And an extra benefit, we can still do our jobs without social media. And we have plenty of work to do. There's no shortage of that. But social media is one thing that helps us do our job better, more efficiently, and it really helps us. It makes it easier for us and a lot more impactful. An extra benefit of social media is getting immediate feedback from some of our parents and providers, such as this recommendation right here. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because it is very long, but one excerpt that we really like from it is right here. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, Cocoa Kids, for all the correspondence and amazing support. I'm tearing up just thinking about it. People showed up to help all workers, including Cocoa Kids. And again, thank you. And that was from a provider who has been a provider in our county for a long time. She was a large family childcare license and had a full roster at 14 kids. And within a few weeks of COVID hitting and the shelter in place, she went from 14 to 0. She had lost all of her roster, and her main concern wasn't getting it back. It was, how can she help essential workers in our community? So we worked with her, sent her some essential workers, and we were able to build her back up to 14 within a very short amount of time. And that was through social media that we were able to get the word out to essential workers that, hey, if you need childcare, we know where that is. We know who is open. We know what kind of vacancies they have, and we can connect you with those people, with those amazing and wonderful providers who are here to help.